Obtuse.
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 Question one, what is Exapunks? Exapunks is a video game by Zachtronics. They have made a bunch of other very sort of similar-ish video games, including Space Cam, Infinimiter, Opus Magnum, and a bunch of other of these games that are like learning to program. It's not learning how to program, it's taking the fundamentals of programming and turning them into games, turning them, like, building games around them. So this is like principles of programming here, but it's simpler than actual programming, and it's sort of like meant to get you to think in terms of programming, but to be more accessible than actually dropping you into like a, you know, like a just yeah, like just dropping you into actually coding, right? So in this case, the fiction is we are a hacker, and we are hacking all of these various things. So in the last scenario, we hacked a pizza place to give us free pizza, and in this time we're hacking our own arm. And what's going on here is the CNS, or the central nervous system. This is our body's central nervous system, and we are trying to send data to our arm. That's why this says arm. So we are hacking our own body to send data from our nervous system to our arm. And we're doing that all through code here. And it's a little obtuse, and it doesn't always make total sense. Chill is chill. That's all it is. What is chill? Chill is chill. Exapunks is complicated, but...
Well, now we have an understanding of how a single receptor protein might work. Let me inform you of this. There are thousands and thousands of different kinds of protein receptors built into the membrane. The receptor's function is to read the signals of the environment. Different kinds of receptors read different kinds of signals. Some receptors read calcium. Some receptors identify glucose. Some receptors specifically match with estrogen. Other receptors specifically complement adrenaline. Some see histamine. Basically, whatever the cell can see in the environment, the reason it can see it's there is because there's a receptor that will complement with that signal. And when that signal shows up, that receptor will change its shape. And that will signal the fact that the actual signal is in the environment. So the changing of shape of a protein is a physical reflection of the presence of a signal. Well, this is very interesting, and it might seem a little bit obtuse. What is this membrane skin receptor business? Well, let me give you some interesting fact that we'll expand on in a little bit, and that is this. When I was teaching this cell biology and teaching about the proteins in medical school, in the opening day of teaching the course in cell biology, what I would inform the students of is a very important fact that most people weren't aware of. And that important fact is this. While you see yourself as a singular entity, the truth is you are not a single entity, that you are made out of living cells. It's the cells that are the living units that collectively make you. So you are actually a community of upwards up to 50 trillion cells. Secondarily, when you look at all the attributes that a human expresses, all the different kinds of physiological mechanisms and characters that humans express in their normal behavior in their normal lives, here's an interesting fact. There is not one new function present in the human that's not already present in every single cell. Wherever you have a function in an organ to carry out that function, this little tiny miniature cell has an organelle, meaning miniature organ that carries out the same function. So the idea is, if you really want to study the cells, you can look at a human and get parallel understanding because they're built in the same image. In fact, the human is made in the image of the cell. And this is why science can study cells and apply that information directly back to humans, because we share the same functions, we share the same structures, and that whatever we can do as a human can only be done because our cells are doing it in the first place. So
Obtuse.
Obtuse.
There would be nothing relatively stable with which its movement could be compared and against which it could be measured. So this ball has no energy. It can't even be said to be still. It can't be said to be in motion. And of course, this is the situation of the universe as a whole. In the beginning, one of the things that God said before the Bible started, the first thing according to the Bible was, "Let there be light." But actually there were several former pronouncements. One of which was, you've got to draw the line somewhere. And the other was, "Have a ball." And this is why most objects of celestial existence are spherical. Don't you think it's very odd to be living on a spherical rock revolving round an enormous spherical fire? This is weird. Wake up and find yourself in that situation. So, he said, have a ball. Now, this is the fundamental situation. The universe as a whole is presumably some kind of ball. It's curved space, and there it is. And nothing can be said about the whole universe as to whether it is moving or whether it is still. It's neither. That's why the Hindus, in trying to make some indication of the ultimate reality, say it is not this, it is not that. It is not one thing, it's not the other. It doesn't exist, it doesn't not exist. It doesn't both exist and not exist. It doesn't neither exist nor not exist. So you can't say anything about it. Your tongue is tied up. That's why it is said in the Mumonkan, which is a great Zen text, that when you've attained enlightenment, you're like a dumb man who's had a marvelous dream. Everybody who's had a marvelous dream wants to tell everybody about it, but if you're dumb, you can't say a thing. So in the same way, the moment you realize that you are one with all that there is, well, it's this fundamental ball, and you can't say anything about it. Because it isn't moving, it isn't not moving. You can't think about it. And the reason you can't think about it is not because it exceeds you. It's because it is you. You can't get at it, like you can't bite your own teeth. So then, if we introduce two balls into our cosmos, then we can say something about motion, because it is apparent that they can approach each other or get away from each other. But no one can say which one is doing it or whether both are doing it, because there is no way of determining it. One may be still and the other moving to it or away from it. Both may be moving towards each other or away from each other, but there is no way of saying which one starts. And furthermore, they can only move with respect to each other in a straight line. They have no possibility of moving on a surface. They have defined linear motion. Now we will introduce three balls into our system. And suddenly we find not only that they can move on a surface with respect to each other, but also that there's going to be a little fight started. Because if two balls stay together at a constant space apart, and one ball appears to approach them or to recede from them, well, here is the problem. Are the two standing still and the one likes them or doesn't like them, so moves close or away, or is the one standing still and the two moving towards it or away from it? Well, there's only one way in this thing of deciding. Two balls that stay together constitute a majority. And according to the majority vote, they will decide whether they are moving away from the other one or approaching it, or whether it is standing still or whatever. Now then, the third ball, of course, can lick them by joining them. It can always stay, if it wants to, at a constant space from the other two, unless they break up and go off in different directions. So long as they stay together, it can stay with them, and then we are back to the original situation, because no one is moving at all, however much they move. Because the three constitute now one,
Obtuse.
Obtuse.
Because the three constitute now one constellation, one triangle. All right, introduce a fourth ball. Now we have the possibility of motion in 3 dimensions. And you would say, well, now this is good because we've got an umpire. Somebody who stands at the distance of objectivity and looks down upon those 3 balls and will decide which of them are moving and which of them are still. Very good, but the problem is, which one of them is the fourth? Who's the umpire? Everyone is in a position of a 3rd dimension to the other 3. So everyone is both involved in the game of 3 and could be the external observer who is the umpire of what the 3 are doing. Now that is exactly your situation as being, sensing yourself as an external observer of the world. And this is a simple basic principle in terms of which all bodies in the cosmos may be understood. It's simply nothing but a multiplication of this situation. It's complicated, yes, so that you have to scratch your head to think about it, but it all reduces down to this fundamental mutual motion of balls. So you see from this, what is the meaning of relativity? So none of the balls, incidentally, have such a thing as a true position, because the position of any one of the 4 is where it seems to be from the different points of view of each member of the group. The members of the group can get together and agree upon a theoretical positioning of the balls, but they can never directly see all of the balls, including the one that's looking, in this theoretical position, just in the same way as you have a theoretical idea of the dimensions of a room, which would correspond to an architect's ground plan and elevation. And you would say you know that that corner up there is a right angle, although you see it as an obtuse angle. Now this agreement as to what are the true positions of things is very important, because upon such agreement depends all possibilities of human communication. But what is the meaning of relativity? Obtuse.
Hello, all of you. I love you. This is the real reality of life. Now. You are all treasure. Welcome to my happy place, the Peacecraft Monastery. I come here to live my dropout life, my life of joy, my life of sharing creativity. Today is a gift from ghosts who are real. Money's not.
Obtuse.
Obtuse.
Obtuse.